With how empty life can feel these days, I think it's critical to reconnect with what makes you come alive in your life. Whatever that thing is. I don't know what that thing is for you, but maybe you could think about that for a moment. And for me, I think back to when I was living in Chiang Mai, Thailand last summer, and I was riding through the jungle on an ATV, one of those four-wheelers, and it was pouring rain, like absolutely just getting dumped on. And I remember just stopping for a moment and just feeling more alive than I had in a long time. And I think it was just feeling the childlike joy, being present in the moment and not off in some thought world or obsessing about my dilemma like I usually am doing. And I was just like this feeling of being exactly where I was supposed to be. Then coming back home from Thailand after 7 weeks and then 3 weeks in Peru at a spiritual retreat center, I'm lying in bed. I live in New York City and I hear it. It's the Amazon truck. It's parked right outside my window and it's double parked delivering packages and it's just blocking the free flow of traffic on the one-way street. And people are just leaning on their horn. I mean, it happens almost every day. And so I'm just lying there listening to it and just dying inside, fantasizing about the cottage in upstate New York that I dream about having with plenty of woods and trails to follow. So lying there, just too avoidant of the hassle and the noise and going out, traveling up into the city, just kind of like instead lying there feeling flat, constrained with what I could do. I can't help but think about what I'm sacrificing, what I actually want my life to look like. Hiking, trails, a garden, animals, another motorcycle, just kind of like local food economies. Yeah, so I think about how my life would feel up in the country. I look up houses up there all the time, just kind of at a whim, even while knowing that it's out of reach for now. I just left my job of 12 years, and so I'm in this like uncertain in-between place. But so the job was one major domino, and the house will eventually be one eventually. I think this feeling of misalignment and this flatness, though wanting to live a life that feels more full, is a relatable feeling. And maybe that's why you clicked on this video. And it's just the way that society's ordered today. The culture, the office jobs, too much time spent in front of screens, scrolling, and also the divorce from nature and community. It sets us up for lives that can feel very hollow. I mean, we're safer than ever now, and more spiritually depressed than ever. Like, we weren't meant to live this way. A great book, if you want to go deeper on that subject, is Lost Connections by Johann Hari, and it lists all these lost connections that is contributing to us feeling spiritually depressed. But working in offices these days, like, that's where like souls go to die. The hideous fluorescent lighting, even on days that there's this beautiful natural light streaming through the window and lighting the office. But seriously, like, stuck in meetings all day, zipping emails back and forth, just kind of sitting down. I mean, we have one life on this precious planet, and this is how we choose to spend most of our waking hours besides sleeping. So we lose this connection to aliveness through how life is just kind of ordered today and how we're conditioned. I dream of living, exploring, fighting for something. Being in close daily contact with nature, experiencing. It reminds me of this quote from Avatar before Jake Sully gets to Pandora. And he says, all I wanted in my sorry life was something to fight for. So many of us have traded something real, hard and brutal as it could be, for something that's safe, predictable, and comfortable. And I'm not immune to it. not by any means. I spent 12 years at a nonprofit organization doing mainly like administrative stuff. And I stayed because the people were great, the organization was great, and so it made it easy to just stay the course. And it was something. And I was always somebody who struggled with direction, where to go. And for me, it was something. And it's what I had. You know, I would get little hits of real living in my hobbies and my interests, and these periodic experiences that I would have. But fundamentally, something was missing from my life. Looking back to the more distant past, when I was a kid in middle school, all I wanted was an ATV. You know, one of those four wheels that I mentioned before. A couple of my friends had them, and we used to ride in the woods and the trails behind our house. And I begged my dad for like multiple years to get one. And unfortunately, he never did. And so I had to count on the good graces of my friend to like take me, which wasn't ideal. But that connected me to something deep, like an inclination toward thrill seeking that started to develop, was showing up over the course of my life, whether it was ATVing or skydiving or cliff jumping. It was something that my soul kind of craved and was pulled toward. And eventually I got a motorcycle, and halfway through college, didn't tell my parents, but it was coming from that same place within myself. And for that moment in Thailand that I described, I reconnected with that kid again. And I think that's why I got this surge of energy that just felt so joyous and alive. So I'll ask you, what makes you come alive? What is it in your life that gives you the sense that you're living fully? It could be a number of things. And how often are you able to give that expression? Is it like, you know, barely ever? Is it all the time? Is it like 30%? I'd love to get a sense. And if you're willing to drop it in the comments, I'd love to read about it. So I want to tell you a story. About 4 years ago, I used to do dog boarding during COVID, and just like as an extra side hustle. And I love dogs. I never had one of my own, but for me, this was like the closest thing to it. And I used to take care of this husky. She was beautiful. And her owner, I remember learning that she was on antidepressants. And I was like, what? I was like, dogs take antidepressants? I didn't know. But I remember it stuck with me. But it made sense, right? Because her owner would like go to work, and she would leave her in the apartment for like 7 to 8 hours. And being still, cooped up in a small space, and, you know, little movement. And for those of you who know anything about huskies, I mean, they need like a ton of physical exercise. Like they're meant to be pulling sleds for like miles. And so this type of living went against her very nature. And so she didn't need the antidepressants because she was broken. It was just going against the grain of how she was meant to live her life. So she was just living against her own nature. The texture of her life was making her sick. And it goes for us as well.